The alien Huntress moved through the shattered remains of the battlefield, her armor glistening in the dim light of the twin moons above. Her people had spoken of a species that once roamed the cosmos, an ancient legend of warriors so fierce they could not be defeated. Yet she had never seen one, and she had never believed until now, because before her stood a being unlike any she had ever encountered, a creature of flesh and willpower and fury. He had come from the ruins of a fallen ship, his body covered in burns and wounds, yet his stance unbroken. His eyes were locked on her, his breathing heavy and determined. She studied him, taking in the strange way he held himself, the way his muscles flexed in preparation, the way his fingers curled into fists as if he intended to fight her, and she could not understand, because she was the apex predator of her world, the greatest hunter in the galaxy, the unchallenged champion of war. And yet this creature, this human, was looking at her as if he believed he could win. She moved first, her body a blur of motion, her blade cutting through the thick air towards his throat. But he was faster than she expected, his body twisting, his hands grasping her wrist, stopping her strike. Her second blade shot forward, aiming for his side. But he turned with her momentum, letting her weapon slide past him, missing by the width of a hair. And suddenly, he was inside her guard, his fist slamming into her ribs with a force that made her exhale in shock. The pain was unfamiliar. The sensation of being struck by something that could hurt her was foreign. She had fought many species and had defeated them all with ease. Her strength, her speed, her skill, always unmatched. But this was different. He was different. His every movement was calculated, his instincts sharp, as if he had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. She retaliated, bringing her knee up, aiming for his stomach, but he shifted, deflecting the strike, his hands locking onto her shoulders. And throwing her backward, she landed with a roll, her eyes narrowing as she rose again. And for the first time in her life, she felt something she had never felt before: excitement. This was not prey, this was not a victim, this was a warrior, and equal a challenge. She smiled, her fangs bared, her blood racing as she launched herself at him again, her blades flashing in the night, her strikes a storm of precision and lethality. Yet he met her every move, deflecting, dodging, countering, his fists, his elbows, his knees striking back with force and precision. He fought without weapons. Yet his body was a weapon, his mind a battlefield of strategies she had never encountered before. The battle stretched into eternity, neither gaining the upper hand, neither relenting. Every strike countered every movement. Mirrored, their bodies moved as if they were dancing, as if they were meant to fight each other, as if they were bound by something deeper than battle, something older than war. Her muscles burned, her breath came in ragged gasps, her vision blurred with sweat, and yet she had never felt more alive. He was pushing her beyond her limits, forcing her to tap into reserves she had never needed before. She had hunted the deadliest creatures in the universe, she had stood unchallenged on the battlefields of 1,000 worlds. And yet, here, this moment, against this human, she felt like she was only just beginning to understand what it meant to fight. And then, with the final clash, with the final strike, they both fell back, their bodies exhausted, their strength drained, yet their eyes still locked. Neither had won, neither had lost. She knelt, her chest rising and falling, her gaze unwavering. He remained standing, his fist still clenched, his body still ready to fight if necessary. She tilted her head, studying him again, seeing not just a creature, not just a legend, but something more, something she could not name, something she could not understand. She rose, stepping forward until she was close enough to hear his breath, to see the battle wounds that marred his skin. She reached out, pressing a hand against his chest, feeling the rapid beating of his heart. Perhaps humans were not myths after all. Perhaps they were not mere stories of the past. Perhaps they were something greater than even she had imagined. She withdrew, stepping back, nodding once in silent acknowledgement. He nodded. In return, the unspoken understanding passing between them like a flame in the dark. She turned, leaving the battlefield behind her, but knowing that she would return. That she would find him again because she had spent her life hunting for worthy prey. But now, for the first time, she had found something far more valuable. She had found a worthy rival.